Hi, I'm Callie from CRK Training. This is Mojo, and if you have missed Mojo's previous appearance in some of our videos, you may notice that he is blind in his right eye. So if you notice that eye, he has as uveitis he got several years ago, and he fortunately went blind in that eye. But thankfully, he is still able to live a happy life and be ridden and appear for you in the videos. So the topic of today's video is going to be saddles and how the balance of the saddle might be affecting you as a rider. So for all of us riders, and especially for those of you that are maybe new or just getting started, we're always thinking about our position and our alignment and maintaining our balance when we're riding. And the saddle can play a huge role in affecting that balance, whether we feel like we're being thrown forward or tipped forward, or whether we feel like we're being kind of pushed back into that chair seat and maybe struggling to keep our leg under us. And when you're riding, you might hear your coach telling you certain things over and over and over, but you feel like you're not able to maintain that position, and some of that may be the saddle. Now, we've posted some other resources from experts that have come here to the blog to share about saddle fitting for both horses and riders. And it's a really big topic, but what I wanted to discuss today is how just the balance of the saddle might be affecting kind of your basic position as a rider, as far as are you going to be tipped forward or thrown back. So we're going to quickly take a look at a few different saddles, and we're going to identify kind of where the balance is on that saddle, and then we'll talk about how that might affect you as a rider. So where this could help you is not only looking at your own saddle if you have one, but also if you ride school horses, you can start to look at the saddle, maybe understand how that particular saddle could be affecting your riding, and then you can start to understand if some of the problems that you're having or some of the things that your coach might be telling you might be caused a little bit by your saddle. And once you know that, sometimes it makes it slightly easier to kind of compensate for that, even if you're not able to necessarily go out and get a different saddle. Saddles may be balanced different ways for different horses, different riders, or different disciplines. So for example, if we are jumping and we have a saddle that's built for jumping, the balance on that saddle is going to be slightly more forward to make it easier for the rider to go with the horse over the jump. If we are riding a saddle that is created maybe for a dressage horse that has a lot of lift up front and a lot of front end movement, the balance point in that saddle might also be a little bit forward to help the rider stay with the movement of that horse. Now, if we have, say, a stock type horse that maybe is working cows or doing something where he's got a very like a low neck position and he's kind of lowered on his front end, that type of a saddle might have more of a rear balance in order to help the rider with that discipline and feel like they're more in balance with that particular horse. So sometimes saddles are adjusted for a specific reason to be in a different balance. Sometimes they're built with a different balance, and sometimes the balance of the saddle may be changed because it doesn't fit the horse correctly. So for example, if a saddle is too narrow up front, then the front is going to tend to sit up, and it's going to shift the balance of the saddle more towards the back. So there's lots of different things that can affect, again, the balance of the saddle. Generally, when you have a more high quality saddle, it's probably going to feel a little bit better, and it's going to just overall have a better balance than a saddle that is of a lower quality. But what I want to do today is we're going to look at 3 different saddles. We're going to compare where the balance is on these saddles so that you can go and look at the ones that you're riding in. So let's take a look at this saddle. I'm going to straighten Mojo out so that we can see it nicely. Good boy. So we're going to position the saddle. So this is a close contact jump type saddle, and if we look at it directly from the side, we can see that the center of the saddle, basically the lowest point of the seat, is right about here in the middle. Now, if I was to start to raise the back, maybe just because the saddle is being fitted differently or we use a different type of pad, we can start to see that that center point of the saddle is going to move a little more forward, and that's going to completely change the way that you feel when you're riding. That's going to make you feel like you're a little bit more tipped forward, which depending on the horse might be helpful, or it might make you feel like you're going over their front end. Now let's take a look at a different saddle and how we might experience something completely different. Now we have a saddle that's obviously a completely different style. This is more of a dressage type saddle, and the balance on it is completely different. When you look at the side, we can see that the way it sits on Mojo, the center point of the saddle is much farther towards the back, and it's built longer up here than the jump saddle we looked at before. So when you're sitting in this saddle, you're going to feel more like you're sitting back here, and depending on the horse that it was on and how exaggerated that was, this one might make you feel like you're sitting a little farther back, and depending on your leg, it might also make you feel like you're struggling to keep your leg under you. Now let's look at another type of saddle that also has more of a rear balance, and that might really make you feel like this common problem of you're kind of being sat back and it's really hard to keep your leg under your hip in that kind of straight line of alignment that we're all looking for. Here we have an older style saddle. This is more of a jump or an all-purpose style than the one that we saw before, but we're seeing kind of a common balance, except for in this saddle, it's probably more likely to cause a problem because of the way the rest of the saddle is built. And again, this is on Mojo. If we were able to, fit the saddle or maybe change it with some pads, we could improve the balance of it. But what's happening here, if we look at it from the side, you can see, get him standing still again, you can see that the center point of the saddle is kind of all the way back here. And to find the center point, again, just look at the saddle from the side. Imagine if you could like drop a marble, where would that marble roll to? On this saddle, it's probably going to be right about here. So this is where you're going to be sitting, and because of the way this saddle is built with the flap being a little more forward, and we've got a little bit of a thigh block here, most riders are probably going to find that with this saddle on Mojo, it's going to be a struggle to not feel like you're kind of sitting back here with your leg a little bit out in front of you. Now again, if we were able to change this saddle and lift the back so that the center point now comes up here, it would probably be a lot more comfortable and a lot more balanced for the rider. So what I hope you can gain from watching this video is to take a look at your own saddle if you have one, see how it's balanced, see maybe how the balance changes if you're riding different horses, and then also when you are riding school horses, start to notice the saddles that you're riding on, where is the balance, notice things that maybe you struggle with in your position, and start to just become aware of how the two could be related. Now, as I mentioned before, saddle fitting for the horse and for the rider is a much bigger topic than what we've just covered as far as balance in this video. So we're going to put some links to some other resources below, and I encourage you to take a look at those. Also, leave a comment with your thoughts or your questions, and if you're watching this video anywhere besides crktrainingblog.com, go there. That's where the best questions, the best conversation is, and I will see you there. Thanks for watching.